I was really pleased with our guys' effort, unselfishness, and toughness on display Saturday night. But like most first games of the year, there's plenty of cleanup and things we got to get better at. We'll focus on that this week, heading into Friday night's game.
The way that your rotation shook up on this past weekend, guys coming off first off the bench, was that based on the work that had been put up to that point? Was it matchup based? What were you looking for when some of those first guys came off?
Probably just a combination of everything. Try to do the best we can to evaluate our team through practice, individual workouts, so on and so forth, and who earns the time. And it's been very competitive, but felt like the guys that we went with were the ones who have been most consistent in practice and have earned those minutes. And I thought that was a big key to the game. You talk about the guys who came off the bench. Our bench production, but Darnell, Mike, and Breon Whitley, scoring 22 points on, I believe, only 12 shots. I think they were 9 of 12 from the floor. And Wright State only had 3 bench points to our 22. I thought that was really critical to our success.
Sounds like a simple, silly question, but how successful do you expect your bench to be night in and night out? Are you expecting 22 points off the bench?
Well, we hope so. I think it's one game, so we'll see. And I think I talked about it earlier this preseason with so many new faces. I think roles can evolve and change, especially here early in the year. Like right now, we have just 2 games over the next 2 weeks. That's a lot of practice time. Our practices are designed to be very competitive and provide plenty of opportunities for you not only to keep getting better, but also to increase or change your role if you so choose.
Would you say that the roles in the starting lineup are fluid at this point?
I think it always is that way. I mean, I don't want anyone ever coming to practice, whether you got a week before the next game or a month. I don't ever want anyone coming to practice thinking I can just show up and I've got my spot and I've got my minutes. I think players earn their time. I don't care as much about who starts. That's not that important to me. I think players earn their time by how they produce in practice, by how consistent they are. Do they work at both ends of the floor? Do they make the players around them better? Do they fit? Do the pieces fit best together? So on and so forth. So very inexact science, but I want our players always to know that every day is a tryout, every day is an interview. You're always trying to audition for your role on the team.
Wright State's one of the better teams on your schedule, and coming into the game, I know for a lot of the fans it was kind of a measuring stick game. Let's just see how good we are. Did you look at it that way?
No, not at all. I looked at it as just one game, against a really good team. I think if you look at our schedule, we've got it loaded up with a bunch of good teams. I can go down the list. Southern Illinois is terrific. Middle Tennessee, defending Conference USA champs. You got Prairie View December 1st, who just went out to Santa Clara and won by 20 points and just absolutely dominated the game this past weekend. Missouri State just beat Oral Roberts by 35. About Alabama's length, athleticism. Auburn, probably one of the top 5 teams in America. So I can go down the list. We just looked at it as an opportunity to see where we're at this point. I was very pleased. I thought from the things that we control, effort, toughness, unselfishness, kind of some of the things that are the building blocks of our program, I thought those things were on full display. And when you have those things, it gives you an opportunity to get better. Did I think we would turn it over 21 times? I didn't. But we made up for it in other areas, which I think's the mark of a good team.
Other than turnovers, where do you need to improve?
Well, I think with it being the first game, and they're a very good team, so they put you in some tough spots. Defensively, we had some breakdowns, and I know we only gave up 54, and I'm thrilled about that number, especially after watching them play Wednesday night against Western Carolina, where they were unbelievable offensively. But we had some breakdowns that we have to get cleaned up. I know we won the boards, but we missed some box outs. We had a breakdown in transition where we gave up an open three. They just happened to miss it. It wasn't anything we did well. They just missed the shot. So, we try to be very big on process, and just because they missed that three or they missed 2 free throws one time when we got beat on a backdoor cut and fouled, those aren't necessarily because we did them the way they were supposed to be done. So we'll watch the film today with the players. We'll work on them in practice and get better in all those areas.
You've been around a lot of Murray State men's basketball teams. Does this feel like one of the better, larger wingspans that you have? I know that sounds like a silly thing, but I just feel like side to side between Tevin, Anthony, Shaq, there's just a lot of wingspan out there denying penetration and the arc.
It's a good question. I haven't charted it. I do know if just as you compare teams, which I hate doing, but you lose obviously an unbelievable player in Jonathan Stark, who played a lot off the ball for us last year at about 5'10", and now you have 6'5" at that spot. Up front, I think with Anthony's athleticism and toughness, he's able to cover a lot of ground. Darnell's wingspan's over 7 feet. Breon Sanchez is over 7 feet. So I think Shaq's he's 6'10" and a half as a guard. So I think it's important. We want to be able to hopefully impact the game with our pressure at the defensive end of the floor, and I thought we were able to do so on Saturday.
How will you address the 21 turnovers moving into a game like Spalding before you get into a little bit deeper non-conference play?
Well, first starts with just studying the film and seeing why the mistakes were made. Some of them were careless, simple careless passes. I don't mind the turnover. We had some turnovers trying to make a play. That's fine. That's going to happen. But we just had some careless passes on outlets to start fast breaks that we made. We had a couple of illegal screens. We had an offensive foul posting up, which all count as turnovers. The thing I was most pleased about, we had 21 turnovers, but we only gave up 17 points off those 21 turnovers, and that was an important number. Not to make it too much about math, but off turnovers in the game, we averaged 1.42 points per possession, and they only averaged 0.81 points per possession following the turnover. And I thought, even though we made those mistakes, to only give up 17 points off the 21 turnovers was critical.
You guys had a design play. Speaking of one of those turnovers, did they give you any explanation as to Tevin shooting through that split and them calling that screen? The guy ran right into that wall. Yeah. Did they give you any explanation as to why they called that? Because it looked clean to me.
No, I thought so. I know that's an emphasis this year, and it has been the last couple years. So they're trying to clean up the screening. The offense has been given a lot of advantages now, taking the physicality away from the defense, the freedom of movement and so forth. They're trying to clean up the travels and the illegal screening to keep the game balanced. And so probably just a rush to judgment there. But I thought it was a good screen, but a judgment call, it happens.
What would you be looking for against Spalding in a game like that in between all of these tough games you've got?
I really hadn't even thought that far in advance. We've got to get in the gym today and get better, clean up some of the areas where we made mistakes on Saturday. But I know it's cliche and boring, but I just want us to keep getting better. We've got a lot of work to do, both ends of the floor, offensively, defensively, and special teams. We gave up a special teams layup on an out-of-bounds underplay that we had covered for a week, and we still gave it up, and that can't happen. So just trying to get better in all areas of our game and try to get more and more efficient and have competitive practices. I want our guys coming in and competing and hungry to get better. That's what I hope they took away from the game Saturday anyway, is that we have an opportunity to have a very good basketball team, but you can't celebrate after one game. It's a long, long season.